3 years ago, I was sitting across from a woman named Sarah at a coffee shop. She was 34, earned $91,000 a year, had $38,000 in a savings account, and zero invested. Not zero in stocks, zero in anything. No brokerage account, no 401k beyond the minimum to get the employer match. She knew she should be doing more. She had been meaning to figure it all out for about 4 years. She just wanted to understand it better before she started. She didn't want to make a mistake with her money. I asked her how long she had been waiting to feel ready. She said, since I was 30. That 4-year wait on her income with her savings rate had already cost her somewhere between $60,000 and $80,000 in compounded future wealth. Not because she did anything wrong, because she was waiting to feel confident enough to do something right. And the wait itself was the most expensive financial decision she ever made. My name's Nicole, and I've spent the last 12 years obsessively studying the gap between what women are taught about money and what money actually does when you understand its real mechanics. I've made every mistake in this space personally. I waited too long, I kept too much in savings, I told myself I'd start investing once I understood it better, and then spent 2 years reading about investing instead of investing. If you're someone who is smart, disciplined, genuinely responsible with money, and still feels like your financial reality doesn't reflect how hard you've worked or how careful you've been, this video is going to explain exactly what's happening and what to do about it. Subscribe and like this video. It helps reach more women who need to hear this. By the end of this, you will understand the single most documented and most invisible wealth gap in women's financial lives. I'm going to show you what the wait actually costs in real dollars at every age. I'll break down the psychology behind why women wait longer than men to start investing, even when they earn the same, save the same, and understand the same information. I'll explain why confidence is not actually a prerequisite for investing, and why waiting for it is a trap built specifically to keep you on the sideline. And I'll give you 3 protocols that work in the real world starting immediately. Not once you've taken a course, not once the market calms down, right now. I also built a free calculator because most online ones don't show you the actual dollar cost of waiting. They show you projections if you start. Mine shows you what you're already losing for every month you don't. I only ask for your email to send the report. Link in the description. Think of investing like a flight. You're at the airport, you have the money for the ticket, you have the destination in mind, you know roughly how planes work. Not in a mechanical engineering sense, in a I understand that planes fly and land and this one has a good safety record sense. But you don't board. You sit in the terminal reading everything ever written about aviation. You want to understand turbulence better. You want to feel ready for every possible scenario before you commit to getting on. Meanwhile, the plane boards, takes off, and covers 500 miles while you're still in the terminal, feeling like you almost have enough information to be comfortable. Every month in the terminal is 500 miles someone else's wealth is covering without you on board. The flight doesn't get safer the longer you study it, and the market doesn't become less volatile the longer you wait. It just keeps going without you. Here's the data that should make every woman watching this genuinely angry before it makes her motivated. A 2021 Fidelity study of 5.5 million account holders found that women who invest outperform men by an average of 0.4% annually over 10-year periods. Women make better investment decisions. Women trade less impulsively. Women are more likely to hold during volatility instead of panic selling. Women are, by the data, actually better investors than men when they invest. But women are investing less, significantly less, and starting later, significantly later. The same study found that only 33% of women identified themselves as investors. 33%. The majority of women with money in accounts, including investment accounts, did not consider themselves investors. They considered themselves savers, people who keep money safe, not people who put money to work. That identity gap, the difference between seeing yourself as someone who saves versus someone who invests, translates directly into behavior, and the behavior translates directly into dollars. A Vanguard study found that women were 14% less likely than men to be contributing to a retirement account when one was available to them, controlling for income. Not because they couldn't, because they weren't. And when women did contribute, they contributed lower percentages on average. Not dramatically lower, but lower. And lower, compounded over 30 years, is not a small number. Here's what the actual math looks like on weighting. Two women, same age, 28, same income, $72,000 per year, same ability to invest $400 per month. Call them Nicole and Priya. Nicole starts immediately. She opens a brokerage account this week, sets up automatic transfers of $400 into a simple S&P 500 index fund, and does not touch it. Priya waits. She means to start. She takes a personal finance course, she reads 4 books, she follows 8 finance accounts online. She debates between index funds and ETFs for longer than she should. She waits for the market to pull back to a better entry point. She starts at 31. Same total monthly contributions, same investment choices once Priya starts, same everything except those 3 years at the beginning. At 60, Nicole has approximately $980,000. At 60, Priya has approximately $788,000. 3 years of waiting cost Priya $192,000. Not $192,000 she spent, $192,000 she never earned, because the compounding clock that started for Nicole at 28 didn't start for Priya until 31. The money that grew on top of the money that grew on top of the first 3 years of contributions, that entire branch of Priya's wealth was never planted. Now extend that to 6 years of waiting, which is closer to what the research shows is average for women who delay investing. Nicole at 60 has $980,000. The woman who waited until 34 has around $625,000, a $355,000 gap from the same $400 a month, the same index fund, the same 32 years of working life. The only variable is when the clock started. Let me introduce you to the 3 women whose stories I want you to hold through the rest of this video. First is Sarah, who you already met. 34, earns $91,000, has $38,000 saved and 0 invested. She represents the most common pattern I encounter among high-achieving women in their 30s. She is not careless with money, she is almost paralyzed by the fear of being careless with it. She has been careful her way into a dangerous position. Second is Jordan, 41. She did start investing at 29, but she did something almost as costly as not starting. She invested conservatively. Very conservatively. Her 401k has been sitting in a target date 2050 fund in her 401k because she chose the option that felt safest when she enrolled during her first week at her job 12 years ago, and she has never looked at it since. She has $148,000 in her 401k. If she had been in a standard stock index fund for those 12 years instead of the conservative allocation she chose and forgot about, she would have approximately $237,000 instead. The decision she made in 10 minutes during new hire orientation has cost her $89,000 and counting. Third is Maya, 29. She earns $54,000, which is not a high income. She started investing at 24 with $100 a month because someone told her that $100 now was worth $1,000 at 40, and she did the math and believed them. She has $19,000 invested. It doesn't sound like much, but Maya is on a trajectory that will produce more retirement wealth than Sarah at a significantly higher income because her compounding clock started 5 years earlier and has been running without interruption. The amount mattered less than the start. These 3 women are not cautionary tales. They are versions of a pattern that shows up across income levels, education levels, and professional backgrounds. The pattern is this: women are socialized to treat financial confidence as a prerequisite for financial action, and the gap between feeling unconfident and feeling confident costs, on average, years of compound growth that can never be recovered. Here is why the confidence prerequisite is a trap specifically for women, and specifically in investing. Financial confidence among women and men is not correlated with financial knowledge at the same rate. Studies consistently show that women with high financial literacy still report lower financial confidence than men with equivalent or lower financial literacy. Women know more and feel less sure. Men know less and act faster. This is not a biological difference, it is a trained response. Girls receive consistent messaging from a young age that money decisions are complex, that mistakes are costly and hard to reverse, that you should be sure before you act. Boys receive messaging that positions risk-taking as normal, that frames trial and error as how you learn, that treats being wrong occasionally as the cost of building something real. The result is that a woman with 4 years of financial education sitting in her brain will still hesitate at the brokerage account login page, and a man with 45 minutes of financial education will have already clicked buy 3 times, gotten one of those wrong, learned from it, and still ended up ahead of the woman who was waiting to be ready. This is not an argument for recklessness. It is an argument against the specific kind of over-preparation that replaces action with the feeling of preparation. Reading about investing is not the same as investing. Watching videos about index funds is not the same as owning index funds. Understanding the mechanics of compound interest intellectually is meaningfully different from experiencing compound interest in your actual account. The knowledge without the action produces no returns. Here's a conversation I had with a woman named Christine. Six months ago, she said, "I just don't feel ready yet. I want to understand it better." What specifically do you want to understand that you don't understand now? Long pause. I don't know. I just want to feel more confident. How long have you been researching this? About 2 years. And has 2 years of research made you feel more confident? Another pause. Quieter this time. No, if anything, the more I read, the more I realize I don't know. That is the trap in its purest form. The research that was supposed to produce confidence is producing the opposite, because the only thing that actually produces investing confidence is the direct experience of investing. You cannot research your way into confidence about something you have never done. You have to do the thing to feel less afraid of the thing. Christine's 2 years of research and 0 months of investing means her account has been sitting completely still while she got smarter about the theory of how it should grow. Her knowledge went up. Her wealth did not move. Let me tell you what Jordan's situation looks like in real numbers, because the conservative allocation problem is the second version of the same waiting trap, and it deserves its own math. Jordan is in a target date 2050 fund in her 401k. That fund currently holds roughly 60% stocks and 40% bonds because it is designed to be conservative enough for someone who cannot tolerate volatility. Jordan can tolerate volatility. She has a stable job, no debt, a partner with income, and 24 years until the target retirement date. She is nowhere near needing this money. She is not the right person for a conservative allocation, but she chose it during new hire orientation when she was 29 and nervous, and the word conservative felt like the responsible word in a list of scary options, and she has never revisited it. Over the last 12 years, the bond portion of her portfolio has returned roughly 1.5% to 2.5% annually. The stock portion has returned roughly 11% to 13% annually, depending on the period. The blended return on her conservative allocation is around 7%. A 100% stock indexed fund over the same period would have returned closer to 12.5% annualized. On a $148,000 portfolio, that 5.5% annual difference is not small. Compounded forward 24 more years, the gap between Jordan's conservative allocation and a simple 100% stock index fund grows to over $400,000 by retirement. Jordan's 10-minute new hire orientation decision, made in a state of financial nervousness rather than financial clarity, is on track to cost her $400,000, and she has no idea it's happening. Her statement says $148,000. She feels fine. The problem is invisible until it becomes irreversible. This is the version of the confidence trap nobody talks about. You start, that's good, but you start scared, which means you start conservatively, which means you start with a brake on the engine, and then you never look at it again, because looking at financial accounts feels overwhelming. So the scared decision you made at 29 shapes your retirement at 65, without you ever consciously choosing to let it. Now let's talk about what to actually do, because diagnosing a problem without mapping the exit is just anxiety with a better explanation. First protocol: start before you are ready. Today, not next month, not when the market looks better, not once you've finished the book you're reading about index funds. Today. I am not telling you to make uninformed decisions with your money. I am telling you to make the one decision that does not require extensive information, which is to open an account and put a small amount of money into a total market index fund this week. Not your full savings, not a life-changing sum. $50, $100, an amount that is small enough that being wrong about the timing doesn't matter, and large enough that you have actual skin in the game. Here is why the small start matters more than the perfect start. The act of owning investments changes your relationship to financial information. When Christine was researching investing with $0 invested, financial news was abstract, market movement was a concept, portfolio allocation was theory. The day Christine has $200 in an index fund, market movement is personal, portfolio allocation has stakes. She starts learning through the actual experience of watching money move, and that experiential learning produces the confidence that years of theoretical research never did. You do not study your way into investing. You invest your way into understanding investing. The order matters. Second protocol. Book a 15-minute account audit this month. If you have a 401k through an employer, log in this week and look at two things only: what you are invested in and what the allocation percentages are. You do not need to understand everything in that account. You need to answer one question: is the majority of this money in stocks? If the answer is no, if you are in a conservative or moderate allocation and you are more than 15 years from retirement, that is Jordan's situation and it is costing you money right now. The fix is simple. Log in, find the investment options, select a target date fund that matches your actual retirement year or a simple total market index fund. Change the allocation. It takes under 20 minutes, and the long-term impact on your retirement balance is likely to be the single highest value 20 minutes you spend this year. Most women I talk to have never done this, not because they don't care about their retirement, because logging into the account feels like a commitment to understanding everything inside it. It is not. You can make this one specific change without understanding anything else in the account. You do not need to comprehend the complete architecture of your 401k to move the allocation slider from conservative to appropriate for your timeline. Third protocol. Automate the amount and forget the timing. The single biggest behavioral mistake I see women make when they do start investing is trying to time it well, waiting for the market to dip, waiting for a quarter to end, waiting for some signal that now is a good entry point. This behavior, which feels disciplined, is actually one of the most reliably wealth-destroying habits in retail investing, not because timing is impossible, but because the research on what happens when people try to time the market is consistent over 60 years. They miss the best days, they wait too long to get back in, and they end up with lower returns than people who invested robotically on a schedule with zero attention to timing. Set up automatic monthly transfers on the day after your paycheck hits. Pick a simple index fund. Set the transfer. Do not touch it. Do not look at it every day. Do not adjust it when markets fall. The automation removes the question of when, and removing the question of when removes the primary mechanism by which good intentions turn into years of waiting. Sarah did this 8 weeks after our coffee shop conversation. She opened a brokerage account the day after we talked. She put $200 in a total market index fund that same day, not because she was ready, but because she decided to redefine ready as the act of starting rather than the feeling of confidence. She set up a $500 monthly automatic transfer. She told me 3 weeks later that she had checked the account balance 4 times in the first week because watching actual money move in actual markets was teaching her more in 3 weeks than 4 years of reading had. She was not ready before she started. She became ready by starting. Here is what the research actually shows about who builds wealth over a lifetime. It is not the most sophisticated investors. It is not the people who made the best individual decisions. The consistent finding across decades of financial behavior research is that the single largest predictor of retirement wealth is the age at which investing began. Not income, not investment choices, not financial sophistication. Start date. The women in the top quartile of retirement savings in every study are not the highest earners. They are the earliest starters. The women who put $50 a month into a retirement account at 23 and kept going through job changes, through market crashes, through years when the balance barely moved, those women end up with more at 65 than women who earned twice as much and started at 35. This is not intuitive. It feels like income should dominate. A woman earning $150,000 starting at 35 should obviously retire richer than a woman earning $65,000 starting at 25. Sometimes that's true, but often it is not, because the $65,000 woman's compounding started 11 years earlier, and 11 years of compound growth on even modest initial amounts produces a base that the higher earner is mathematically chasing for the rest of their career. Here is what I want you to understand about Nicole from the beginning of this video. Her brother Kevin did not outsmart her. He did not discipline her. He did not make better decisions at any individual point in the process. He just started earlier and thought about it less. He had less information, less caution, less research, and more money at 38. Not despite those things, partially because of them. His lower threshold for action, which in most areas of life is not a virtue, in the specific domain of long-term index investing, where the research uniformly shows that action beats analysis and time in the market beats timing the market, his lower threshold for action was a structural advantage. The good news is that this is a completely transferable advantage. You do not have to become less careful in general. You have to make the one decision to lower the action threshold for this one specific behavior. Start investing before you feel ready. Make it automatic, make it boring, and then go be as careful and thorough as you want in every other area of your life. Here are your 3 takeaways. 1. Waiting to feel ready is the most expensive financial decision most women make. The confidence you're waiting for does not come from research. It comes from doing. Start with an amount small enough to be comfortable and large enough to be real this week. 2. Check your 401k allocation today. If you are more than 15 years from retirement and the majority of your balance is in bonds or a conservative fund, that scared choice from your first week at a job is quietly costing you more than almost any other financial mistake you could make. Change it. It takes 20 minutes. 3. Automate and remove the timing question. The women who build the most wealth are not the most sophisticated. They are the most consistent. Set up the automatic transfer. Remove your ability to talk yourself out of it every month. The automation is not laziness. It is the highest performing financial behavior available to a regular person. I spent years waiting to feel qualified to talk about this publicly, waiting until I understood enough, waiting until I had enough of my own results to point to, and the irony of sitting on financial content about the cost of waiting while personally delaying it because I didn't feel ready was not lost on me when I finally saw it clearly. The market did not wait for me to feel ready. It kept moving. Every month I waited was a month of compounding I cannot get back. You already know enough to start. The question is whether you're going to start today or spend another year knowing enough and doing nothing. If you want to see exactly how I structure a starting portfolio at different income levels, including the specific funds I use and why, there's a video on this channel breaking down the full allocation. Real numbers, no affiliate links, just the math. Thanks for watching.